Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today is Little Bits Tuesday, and so we're going to use some distress oxides. We're going to use an older darkroom door torn text and a new paper rose called Patterned Waves. I thought this stencil, it's a stencil, was rather cool actually. I'm going to use a blending brush, which apparently are coming back in, but they're yet to arrive. So this stencil is a bit delicate in the sense of it probably would be really good to have some adhesive on the back of it, some spray or some of the two-way glue or something. But we're going to do this just nice and gently and nice and carefully, and I'm only using a small part, so it can be a little bit delicate. So we've sponged all that through. We're not really worried about any marks or anything. So we take the backing off, so because it makes it a little bit more flexible. And we're just going to use a walnut stain again to just put some text on there. And go back over the whole thing with some more walnut stain. I loved my walnut stain today. It was on the desk, and so I just thought I'd use it again for the torn texture. So we're going to clean that off, and this time we're going to go back through and do the same thing with the Versamark, and we're going to use some speckled egg glaze. That's one thing I didn't tell you. So speckled egg glaze it's not opaque, and I'll show you another panel later on where I've used it, and I've put the Versamark through a stencil, and it's a lot more clearer of it, just of what exactly that it does, sort of thing. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit just to make it, before I put the edging on, because I'm going to go over this again, because I've been basically playing with this just to see what it does and how it works. So as I said, very shortly I'm going to slow this down, I think 15th. Here we go. So that's the panel that we've got with the speckled egg through the text and on the sides, and that's stamped with the VersaFine. And then we've got this panel which is sponged and stamped, the same sort of thing that we did with the torn texture, but stenciled over the top with the Versamark through the actual stencil and then the embossing powder. So you can see more of the colour obviously there, but you can still see the stamped and the colour in the background underneath it. So a little cupcake, because this is number 2 in the mail cards, and I did hit a bit of a wall this week because I'm actually officially finishing up work today at the school, so that's rather a bit exciting. So there's been a lot going on. I still obviously haven't got completely the idea of being on screen because I'm a little bit high. But what I'm going to do with the cake, we're going to start with the icing. Let's start there. E23, E25, E27 and E29. I think that was the icing. The cake is going to be E59, 57, 55 and 53. So hopefully that's the colours I showed you before. Otherwise just swap them around. That's the sort of day I'm having. So we're going through, we've mapped out the shading with the lightest colour, then I've gone back through with the darkest. Now because it's a chocolate, it's not going to have a little bit less definition in this, but I still really liked how it turned out. The cupcake is only very small, and what we're going to do is to keep it all with, mail cards tend to be a little bit more of the colour. Of course, this does get a little bit of sparkle, but you don't want to go too much with the sparkle, and you don't want to go too much with, oh look, I got it right. The cake was the E50 range. You don't want to go too much with the sparkle or too much with sort of a bit of bling, but it's a little bit more of the mail cards with the colour. So, and boys like their chocolate cake, so I figured I could include a chocolate cake. I don't have a lot of cars. Who says it has to be cars and everything else? Now, what you cannot see, because I forgot that I was in so close, With the wrapper, I'm using the two lighter shades of the cake, so E53, 55, but what we're going to do is a bit of glazing over the top with BG13 and BG15, because the BG, we're going to use a little bit of another colour through the rest of it, so to tie it all in together and have it just not be so brown and boring, we're going to do a glaze. And honestly, I picked the two smaller colours and picked these brighter colours and decided let's see what happens. And that's half the problem, half the thing of just like giving it a go, giving it a crack and see what happens, using a little piece of cardstock on the side, trying the colours out and see whether you like them. So that's what I did. So you can see it's a scrap piece of paper. So I've trimmed that all out, and I'm going to use some ground espresso distress marker just to go around the edge. You want a water base, not an alcohol base, to go around, because we've coloured it with the alcohol base pen. So we're just going to blend him in. So I'm sorry I'm really high. I needed to zoom out. I'm clearly not got the gist of all this sort of stuff. So we've got Birthday Greetings stamp set by Old New, which is a cool little, just a well-rounded little stamp set. Honestly, I love it. Some scrap cardstock and some rich cocoa, which is the same colour that we stamped the cupcake in. We didn't stamp him in black. We're going to keep it all very brown and very neutral. So trim him down, and I'll also trim a little bit off the bottom later on, but you won't see that. I've got some turquoise colour from my stash. I'll first put that down. And I've trimmed a little bit off just to help with the glazing of the cupcake wrapper that we did with the turquoise. This is a top folding card. And because we've got a little bit, the speckled eggs has that sort of, it's not turquoise. It's not really turquoise. What? Aqua? Would be an aqua sort of colour. I'm not very good with my aquas and that sort of colour. But so it's got that little bit. So we glazed the cupcake wrapper with the BGs, and then we're going to do the same with a little strip. So it's a very, very relatively simple, but we wanted the cupcake and we wanted that panel to stand out. So that's why I've kept it simple. Go over the top with the walnut stain again, just because it can be quite bright. And bright cards are not too bad, but this one I was going for an older sort of male. My head's going to get in the way just because I needed to make sure it was all lined up properly and all even. So as I said, this is a card for Leslie for all little bits. She is open tomorrow, and I was a little bit crooked there, which is Wednesday the 5th of August, and then you'll have to email her if you need anything. So I've used two of these. This is just some foam that I had, and you could cut down a little bit of foam, but I wanted that odd shape because the cupcake is raised, so I wanted to make sure I had enough room to clear the cupcake. My head's going to get in the way again because I wanted to make sure it was right, so excuse my big head. And there we go. Bit of Wink Stella over the cupcake, because why not? I'm going to come in with some Nouveau Vintage. We're going to do the stickles first, but I am going to come in with some Nouveau Vintage Bohemian teal. Oh, there you go. Is it a teal? Yeah, I did say teal. No, I said aqua. Anyway, I digress. This is not something that Leslie regularly has, but I'm not too sure whether she might be able to get it in. So I've hit the back of it with a jar, and this is where I'm umming and ahhing about it. So what happens is with the Nouveau, with the liquid pearls and all that sort of stuff, it has a little peak. So I've just hit it in the back just to round it off a little bit. Decided there was a few of the Nouveau dots that I just didn't want. And there goes another one. And so I've just added the stickles over the top of it just to cover up because it sort of reacted a little bit with the oxides a little bit. So that's my card. So like and subscribe. Find all Leslie's details below. Thank you. Bye.